Deep in the remote mountains, among the flowing streams, the sound of chirping birds and the fragrance of the flowers, lines of black-roofed yellow buildings are to be found. Seen from a distance, they give the impression of being mysterious symbols. The buildings were discovered during the 1960s and 70s by the U.S. satellites. The American military experts, after examining the images using the latest high-tech equipment, identified them as either missile launch sites or facilities associated with a nuclear program. The Central Intelligence Agency poured considerable resources into studying them. The strange buildings are located in Yangding County, Fujian Province. It was only after China and the United States established diplomatic relations that the Americans learned that the alleged missile launch sites were actually homes, the earthen dwellings of the Hakka people. As representatives of Chinese architecture, the Hakka earthen buildings, along with a model of the Temple of Heaven, were exhibited at the 1995 International Architecture Exhibition in Los Angeles. The Hakka residences, which became popularly known as the Pearl of Oriental Architecture, created enormous interest among foreign scholars and experts. The buildings were variously likened to UFOs from outer space and mushrooms. But where did these UFOs and mushrooms come from? How did people live inside these earthen buildings? People were eager to find the answers to such questions. There are more than 20,000 of the earthen dwellings in Yangding County, Fujian Province. They come in various shapes and sizes, square, round, and oval. But they all have something in common. Every group of earthen buildings forms a circle and accommodates an extended family. The buildings, built in village units, are evenly scattered among the verdant hills and green waters, creating a magnificent spectacle. The origin of the buildings is associated with the people who are most closely associated with them.
我们客家人最早唐宋李明清5个朝的难民到南方来，南方呢叫北方的人叫客人，叫习惯才叫客家人。
The earthen buildings belong to the Hakka. The Hakka are originally Han people whose ancestors came from the central parts of China. Around 291 AD, a migration began of people from northern China who headed southwards to escape the warfare that had blighted the country for many years. Among them were people from the Central Plains. In Chinese history, there have been 5 major southward migrations. They were prompted by war and natural disasters. The people who were thus separated from their ancestral homes often felt that a permanent dwelling was the best way to preserve their ethnic roots. Some of them headed for the mountainous area where Fujian, Guangdong, and Jiangxi province met. There they settled and established the Hakka way of life. The mountains where the Hakka people chose to reside were originally a wilderness. The virgin forests were inhabited by insects, snakes, and wild animals. For many years, it remained an isolated part of the country that was beyond the reach of the imperial government. but the threat from the wild animals and the primitive locals obliged the Hakka to pay considerable attention to defending themselves. So they built their earthen buildings, which, though they looked ordinary, are full of hidden secrets. Surrounded by their earthen walls, every building has only one exit. The gate is made of pieces of solid wood covered with a sheet of iron. The gate is a key element in the building's defenses. During times of war, the soldiers always kept the gate closed. They would throw rocks from the top of the walls to keep the enemy at bay. The gate could mean the difference between life and death. The panels were strong enough to withstand fire and axes. The log served as a massive bolt, keeping the gate closed in the face of enemy attack. Each end of the bolt would be firmly embedded in the solid walls. The door frame was usually carved out of solid rock. There would always be a cistern on top of the gate that was linked to a water tank on the second floor through a bamboo tube. In ancient times, fire was a principal weapon in a siege. The designers of the earthen buildings ensured that water could be channeled from the cistern to put out a fire. Above the gate, there was also a window from which the Hakka people could throw rocks and pour lime water over an enemy that had gotten too close. The earthen buildings, considering they're covered by roofs, are surprisingly bright and spacious. The carefully designed rooms inside harmonize perfectly with the external magnificence of the earthen buildings. On the ground floor of an earthen building are usually located the kitchens. On the first floor are the grain storages. The remaining floors are taken up by living quarters. There are a number of advantages to such an arrangement. The ground and first floors, since they're not lived in, have no need of windows. This is good from the point of view of defending the buildings. But even the windows on the other floors are designed with defense in mind. The earthen buildings have granaries, wells, bathrooms, and mills, all of which ensure that life can go on as normal even during a siege. Viewed from the outside, an earthen building is a closed circle. Inside, however, it's divided into independent living units. It's a defensive structure that also guarantees some privacy. Thanks to the earthen buildings, the Hakka people have been able to live from one generation to the next in a safe environment.